Good afternoon. My name is McCagh, and I'm an author of 24 books written through memories, meaning I had a gift given through a near-death experience. I had the gift of listening. I listened to the dead dictating their stories of their life and death experiences. I've had a wonderful life. I've written, as I said, 24 books full of their stories. Their stories are so beautiful. But not only that, the stories teach us something about the other side, but they do teach us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So since I had a suicide attempt, they promised me a new life and a new beginning. Well, I've certainly got that. I have been to some beautiful places. I've visited been everywhere that I ever wanted to go. But today I'm going to tell you some of the situations and how and why I was sent to different places, because I've got a very beautiful guide. And when my husband and I lived in Jordan, I had this really strange urge that I needed to go home. And so we decided to sell the property, and I contacted my son and said, "Oh, that's strange, Mother. We're going to get married." And the day that we decided to get to fly over to England was the day they decided to get married. Really funny, wasn't that? Anyway, so we went over to England and we had a lovely time, beautiful time. And we stayed, and then I think we stayed about 4 or 5 months. And then I needed the time, I needed to go on back to Australia. Although I'm British, Australia is my home now. So me and my husband caught the plane and arrived home. We bought this house in a very big hurry. We needed somewhere to stay and we didn't want to be paying rent like we all do. And we bought this brand new built house, and I hated it from day one. But at that time, we thought we didn't have an alternative. So we're in there for about 6, 8 months, and we do it up absolutely beautiful. And then something kept niggling at me, and I said to my husband, we just got to think of another way of doing things. So I said, I hate this place. What about if we put it on the market? So we put it on the market, and I thought, are we ever going to sell this house? Anyway, for some unknown reason, we decided to take a ride out to a place called Country Roads. So then we was at Country Roads, and I passed a sign, and the sign said for sale. So what I'd done is actually took the long road to get back to Perth, and I'd veered off and somehow got myself lost and found myself on a by street, and it was called Clydesdale Road, Clydesdale Street, beg your pardon. And this house was just stood there, and I had this urge to phone up, which I did. And my husband said, I don't live in Mandurah. I don't want to stay in Mandurah. I don't want to live in Mandurah. So by the time I'd finished speaking to him, he said, I'm sorry, I can't get you in today, but I'll try another day. So I started to back off and go down the highway. And just before I did the main turn, the phone rang, and the gentleman said, I can get you in 15 minutes. Bang, I turned round, and we stopped, met the agent. It was a really nice guy. Went in, and even my husband said, this is a beautiful home. So we bought our first home with kind of turning down the wrong street and finding the long road. And we bought that property that day. And we loved that house. And we did it up. And we built verandas and did all these things to the house that you do. And then one day I said to my husband, I need to go on. And he said, well, what do you need to? I said, I need to go on. And I'm being told to book a flight to England by the 12th of April. My husband said, why are we going to have it at 12th of April? I said, I just don't know, but I know that I got to book by the 12th of April. This was 6 months prior to April. So anyway, we booked the flight and everything was going okay. So we decided to download and start getting, rid of all the junk that you carry. And we started doing that. And then my guide said, go and get 3 real estates to come and value your property. So I did. I found up 3 real estates. And the first real estate come in and said, we value this at 450, maybe 460. And we thought, oh, well, that's okay. And then the second one said similar the same. And the third one said similar the same. So we just going to sign by then. But anyway, we never got to visually sign in. And at the night time, I said to my husband, I've got this real strange feeling again. And my husband says, oh, no. He's getting used to me having these feelings. So I said, I'm not going to bother selling the house. I'm just going to carry on and we'll rent the house. And he said, oh, okay, that sounds good because we'll have somewhere to come back to. So 3 weeks later, I go to bed and my guy said, I need you to go get 3 new real estates to get a valuation. I said, I've just done that. And then I learned that I don't question. So I said, okay. So I got up the following morning and he said, oh, my husband said, no, what are you going to tell me today then? I said, we're going to get 3 more valuations. And he said, why? I said, I don't know. I said, but I'm going to do it. So we got 3 valuations that day. And the first one come in and it was an older gentleman, very nice. And he looked around and I was sat there drinking a cup of tea. And he said, oh, well, he said, Mrs. McCagh, he said, I value this property at 650. And I looked at him and I thought, he's bloody joking. He's only just been valued at 4. I thought he's joking. So I said, thank you very much to him. And I phoned my husband out and I said to my husband, he said it's valued at 650. So my husband said, don't worry about it. He's just trying to get the house to sell. So 2 o'clock, a lady came and she was very nice too. And she looked around and she said, put a paperwork on the kitchen bench. She said, well, Mrs. McCagh, she said, I value this property at 650. And I looked, I thought, what the bloody hell's going on? And she said, are you disappointed? I said, oh, no, I'm not disappointed. So I phoned my husband was due to phone me up and I said, you can't believe this. I said, they both valued it at 650. And he said, oh, that's strange, isn't it? So I said, I've got the third one to come in. He's coming in a minute now. So I put the phone down and this young gentleman, he was really nice. And he looked at the place and I thought he's going to be truthful because I really just jest to him. And he put his paperwork down like the others did. And he said, well, he said, Mrs. McCagh, I value this property about 650. And I was absolutely gobsmacked. I couldn't believe what was happening. I'm jumping 450 to 650. And I couldn't understand what was going on. So I kept having somebody saying in my memory, patience, Pamela, patience. So my husband came on the following day. And he said, what did they say? And I said, well, she said 650, he said 650, and the last one said 650. He said, well, let's try and sell it at 650. So I went to bed that night and my guy told me to pick the young fella, the one I felt comfortable with. So he came the following day and said, I'm going to sign you up for $650. He said, I have got a couple interested already. And we thought, oh, okay. So he said, can I bring them down tomorrow morning? So I said, yeah. Anyway, he phoned me up early and said, they changed their mind, but I've got another couple that would like to look through. Now, remembering I booked a flight 6 months ago for the 12th of April. So this couple come in, older couple, and she looked like a real misery. But anyway, we talked to her and we found her quite nice. And we thought that he'd gone, shoved into the door, and we thought they drove away. So my husband's got his sandwich out on the table. He likes a big fat sandwich with everything in it. And he's pushing it all down because it's so big as a bloody roll. And doorbell rang, so I said, oh, he said, I said, oh, you come back? He said, no, I never left. We've signed up on the doorstep. Oh, okay then. So I come in. I asked him to come in, and we come into the kitchen, and my husband's just took a big bite of this sandwich, and he said, I said, oh, what was the offer? He says 650 cash, but, and my husband went, she couldn't believe it. And he said, I said, oh, but there's a but. And he said, yes, there's a but. You have to be out of the house by the 12th of April. And my husband looked at me and I looked at him and I thought, my God, is this right? But everything went so smooth. We had one garage sale and we had about 300 people come that weekend and cleaned us all out. The only thing we took with us was, we put the car in to be stored. That was my car, and a few belongings. We got a container thing, but we couldn't believe it. And we was on that plane. We was at the station, 12 o'clock. And you wouldn't believe, I get a phone call just as you're going on the plane. And my brother said, your mum's had a bad accident. She's gone into hospital. I said, what happened? He said, she fell off the bus. So I said, oh my God. So that is how far we've got so far. But that's only one small part of my journey. I would like to stop now, and then I would like to carry on and tell you what happened after that. So thank you very much for listening.